Hi, my friends. In this video, I will tell you how I created a sculpture in an anime style inspired by the famous NFT collection, Azuki. When I was commissioned to create the sculpture, all I had was an image, and I had to come up with a tangible form for a 2D picture. This was a challenging project for me, requiring all of my knowledge of anatomy and imagination. So, please don't judge harshly. It's better to give a like and subscribe. I have many useful and interesting videos ahead. During the sculpting process, I had to start over twice because I couldn't get the tilt of the sculpture right. But in such moments, the most important thing is not to give up. Mistakes are normal. The key is to find more references, which makes sculpting easier. I even had thoughts of creating a 3D model initially, but it all worked out. By the way, I prefer sculpting with plasticine because it's a cleaner process compared to working with clay. It took about 1.5 months in total for sculpting from scratch and making corrections. In this video, I've accelerated the process to maintain a dynamic pace. The full sculpture creation process has been captured in a time-lapse video, and if you're interested in watching it, please let me know in the comments. When the clay model was ready, I proceeded to the molding stage. Since this is a unique piece and there won't be any copies of it, it's not practical to completely encase the sculpture in silicone. Therefore, I apply a thin layer of silicone with a brush, making sure to cover all areas. Beforehand, I degas the silicone to remove any air bubbles. I repeat this process multiple times to create several layers, which will later be coated with a paste to create the shell casing. For the first layer, I use a softer silicone, while for the second and third layers, I opt for firmer ones. Next comes the process of creating rims for applying the paste for the framework. However, due to my lack of attention, this step got lost somewhere, so I'm planning to produce a separate tutorial on the molding process. In general, during the creation of this sculpture, many things didn't go as planned, so don't laugh at the casing. It really resembles Frankenstein's appearance. This unique polyurethane-based paste allows for the creation of a lightweight and sturdy casing for the sculpture, into which plastic can be poured. It's much lighter than plaster and yet remains a budget-friendly option. The key is to work swiftly, as it solidifies within a few minutes. Next, I prepare the plastic that I will pour into the ready mold. I weighed the plasticine mold beforehand to calculate the necessary weight. Through my work, I concluded that it's better to use plastic with a curing time of 8 to 20 minutes. Within this time frame, it can be thoroughly mixed and degassed. The key during mixing is to avoid agitating the plastic too much, as it can lead to foaming. In reality, plastic casting is a rather finicky process that requires nerves of steel, at least in my case. Given my disposition, adhering to such a strict technological process was challenging for me. Therefore, my advice is to strictly follow the instructions for your specific plastic. This way, you can minimize any unpleasant surprises. So, the plastic has set, and it's time to free the sculpture from its casing. This casing might not vie for the title of Beauty King, but its main accomplishment was enduring the casting process, and that's what matters. To ensure that the casing could be easily opened and closed, I added fasteners using screws. Sometimes, I often lack the physical strength to detach the silicone mold on my own, but I'm already working on building up my biceps, which is beneficial for both work and feeling confident even in a dark alley. The moment of truth has arrived, and I always open the casing with thrill, because there's never a 100% certainty that everything is okay. The most significant issue I struggle with is learning to cast plastic without any flaws. I'm aware of the gating system and have tried it a few times, but I've been unable to create them skillfully, and the imperfections persist. If you know how to achieve this, please share your insights in the comments. You would greatly assist me. Therefore, I've decided to manually refine all imperfections using polyester putty. Over the years, I've found skilled professionals and perfected the process, ensuring that the sculptures look smooth and flawless visually. This is due to manual sanding until no defects remain. Now the sculpture is ready for priming. I use two types of primers. First, an epoxy primer, as it fills in the micropores on the plastic that are invisible to the human eye. After it dries, the sculpture needs to be sanded again and prepared for applying the next finishing acrylic primer, which I use for fine leveling and ensuring good paint adhesion. Again, it's the same technique tested through bitter experience. But the most crucial aspect is the durability of the coating, which is why I decided to proceed this way. By the way, a scary incident from my early experience: if the thickness of the layer is disregarded, the coating could eventually crack. This is a separate stage for which I'll definitely create a tutorial. Once all defects are completely eliminated, the surface is matte finished and degreased. It's time to move on to the most exciting stage, painting. I work with acrylic-based automotive enamels. These paints are toxic, so it's recommended to work in a well-ventilated area and use a respirator. For larger areas, I use a mini jet, as it reduces work time and ensures even paint application. For finer details and outlining, I use an airbrush. Now I work with professional equipment, but I started with basic tools which also did a great job. So, if you're interested in getting into airbrushing, begin with simple models, as you'll likely ruin a couple before getting the hang of it. Finally, the sculpture visually starts resembling the original image due to both the shape and the color palette. Once the primary volumes are painted, the next step is to create beautiful shadows. In airbrushing, it's better to work from light to dark, as light colors don't cover dark colors well. This sculpture features intricate hair relief, which I wanted to enhance by adding more expressiveness through shadows. I appreciate airbrushing for its ability to create natural shadows and soft transitions. In this work, I decided to use a stencil effect in several places to get as close as possible to the original image. If you're not familiar with the Azuki project, I highly recommend checking it out. The characters themselves are beautifully and professionally drawn. After that, it's all about technique and experience. The more you work with an airbrush, the better your results become. I've spent around 5 working days on airbrushing, considering my experience. It's not a fast process, but I always give it my 100%, and in this craft, it's better not to rush because correcting mistakes can take a significant amount of time. At some point during the process, I used paper stencils and tape to accentuate certain forms. It's an amazing process to witness how a sculpture comes to life right before your eyes. In these shots, I'm not wearing a respirator because I have a powerful ventilation system installed in the room. Next, I meticulously refine all the details with the airbrush, so there's no need for comments. By the way, for this video, I used a neural network to voice my comments since I need to buy a microphone. Let me know how you find this voice. For the upcoming videos, I'll be narrating them myself. In any case, it's a new and interesting experience for me. I enjoy sharing my experiences and thoughts with you. When the airbrushing is complete, I move on to a very important step, applying the lacquer. I use automotive acrylic lacquer, in this case, a matte finish. It has excellent durability, ensuring that my sculpture will remain intact for many, many years. I apply the lacquer in 2 coats, with a 15-minute break between layers. And here is the result. I'm satisfied with it, but what do you think of this sculpture? Thank you to everyone who watched until the end. I tried to make a useful and interesting video for you at every stage.